Hey friends, it's Ellie. My friend Anna and I started Pepper Books because we wanted a book box that actually delivered what we were craving. Smart, sexy romance with tropes that we love and spice we could choose. Each month we offer 5 different boxes so you can pick your spice. Whether you're into slow burn tension or full-blown steam, we've got a box for you. You can subscribe or just grab a box when one catches your eye. No pressure, just fun. Our summer boxes just dropped, so don't miss out. Check us out at shoppepepperbooks.com and find your perfect next read. Your TBR deserves a little bit of pepper. Now, on to the episode. Hi there, and welcome to A Day in Her Life, the podcast that's all about diving into the real, unfiltered daily rhythms of women just like you. Every week, we're sitting down with incredible women to pull back the curtain on what their days actually look like. You know those moments when you're wondering, how does she do it all? Well, we're here to find out. From morning chaos to evening wind down, we're exploring the nitty-gritty of daily life, work, family, and everything in between. Whether you're looking for a little inspiration, some practical tips, or just curious about how other women navigate their days, you are in the right place. Maybe you'll discover a game-changing morning routine, a clever time management hack, or just feel a little more connected knowing you're not alone in the beautiful mess of everyday life. So grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever keeps you going, and let's dive into today's chat. If you like what you hear, we'd love your support. Please follow us wherever you're listening, leave a review, or share the podcast with a friend. And if you want more A Day in Her Life, catch us on Instagram at A Day in Her Life Pod. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at adayinherlife.substack.com. Or if you have a guest suggestion, drop us a note at adayinherlife.com. I'm your host, Ellie Rinnick, and let's jump into the episode and let's have some fun. Hi, friends. Welcome to today's episode of A Day in Her Life podcast. Today, I'm here with Lauren Makler, who's here to talk about her days. Hi, Lauren. How's it going so far?
Hi. So far, so good. How are you?
Can't complain. I am so excited to be chatting today. Can you fill us in on who you are, where you live, what your household looks like, and how you fill your days?
Yeah. Okay. I am a mom of 2. So I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And my husband and I both work from home. And I run a company called Cofertility. So I am one of the founders and the CEO of this fertility company that essentially enables women to freeze their eggs for free when they donate half of the eggs retrieved to intended parents that can't otherwise conceive. So we are making both egg freezing more accessible and egg donation less transactional at the same time. So I'm very busy and I do a lot of things for a lot of people, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I love that. And I can't wait to jump into how you started Cofertility and learn more about that. But let's start with some rapid fires and then we'll go into your days. Sound good?
Sure. Let's do it.
So, Lauren, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Reading or watching TV?
I can't live without both of those things. So I do not have one. It's like I have a very square time that I must watch TV and then I read myself to sleep every night.
I agree on that. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Always chocolate except for ice cream.
Okay, I literally just talked about this with someone else. Everyone says that. And chocolate ice cream has a bad rap. We need to figure out how to improve chocolate ice cream, I think, is the bottom line here.
I agree with that.
And then, Lauren, can you describe your days in 3 words?
Fulfilling, hard, and perfect.
Awesome. I love that. All right. So starting with your mornings, Lauren, what time do you get up? What does your morning routine look like? How do you kind of get your kids to wherever they are destined to go for the day before you sit down to work?
So I actually work before my kids get up. And I'll be honest, like this is a season of life where I have made that choice. This is not like who I plan to be long term. or who I like actually am at my core. Like I am not a morning person, but starting this company and wanting to be a really present mom has meant that like something had to give. And the thing that gave was my extreme desire and personality trait of like being a morning bed layer. Like that is like who I am inside, but I don't get to do that anymore. And so I typically wake up between 5 and 6. It depends on the night before, and it depends on if one of my children has woken up in the night. Sometimes I like move that alarm out a little bit later, but usually I'm up and I like come downstairs in a sweatshirt to my home desk, and oftentimes either I'll crank through like my morning to-do list for work, or I'll actually get on a Zoom pretty early with some of my teammates on the East Coast. And so they're very used to seeing me like mostly my leadership team, seeing me like before I take a shower, like, you know, it's good that I brush my teeth, but that's about it. So I typically will get to my desk, you know, and I hate the way this sounds, but it's just the truth, right? Between 5:30 and 6, and I'm on until about 7:15 when I'll go upstairs and we'll wake up. And we're very lucky that our kids like sleep till we get them most days, but you know, go for the baby and the 4-year-old. And so that happens. I actually just wrapped, you know, a 12-month breastfeeding journey. And so I feel like for the first time I have some flexibility where like, I don't need to be there the second he wakes up. And so my husband can like bring him some milk and I can meet them up there if I'm taking a little bit longer than usual. But it's really important to me that I have 7:30 to 9 100% kids and like getting out for the day. And so my husband will like make breakfast while I figure out what everybody's wearing. And, you know, we spend the morning together. We make breakfast, we get dressed. My daughter she's the older one. She's 4. This week she's at camp and it has been a tough camp transition. She's had a really hard time saying goodbye every morning, which has been like extra hard / like guilt ridden for me. But every day she ends up loving being there. And so, you know, that's the reality. But so my husband and I will like switch off who does drop off. And so like today I had drop off, tomorrow he'll do drop off. And then one of us hangs out with the baby until our amazing nanny that we've had for the last 4+ years gets here. And when you're the person not going to drop off, you get to take the baby for a walk. And so I like the morning walk. And then when our nanny gets here, my like real work day starts.
I love that. I had a tough dropper off kid for a while, and it was nothing about it feels good. But then when you pick them up, they're always just like smiling and happy to see you. And I'm like, can we just remember this tomorrow morning?
Don't forget this. Yeah, I know. And even when we do the like, remember yesterday it was hard to get dropped off, but then you had an amazing time. Like even the like talking about it doesn't seem to help. But I think summertime can be tough for kids that age when they're like, I'm not in my regular school routine and I don't know who my teacher is going to be. And it's hard. And, you know, my co-founder, Hallie, she also has a young son. He's like 6 or 7 now, but she and I both said that we'll, you know, grow this company and put our all into it, but not at the cost of being great moms. And I come back to that a lot. And so I know that, you know, this morning my daughter needed me a little bit longer and that's where I was. And it meant that my next call was on the phone instead of on Zoom. And that's okay.
I love that kind of guiding mission for both of you.
Yeah.
Do you eat breakfast in the morning? Are you a breakfast person? What does that look like for you?
I can't live without breakfast. Yes, I do. It depends on how crazy the morning is, whether or not I eat breakfast when our kids eat breakfast or if I eat right when I get to my desk. But my husband will make us like a homemade almond milk latte that I put a scoop of my collagen protein in. So I like know I'm always getting at least 15 grams of protein just from my coffee alone. And then I will also have my breakfast. So today it was yogurt with berries.
That's what I had.
And some nut butter. But yesterday we did breakfast sandwiches. So just depends on what we're in the mood for. But at least I'm like starting with the base level of some protein in my coffee.
Awesome. When you sit down for work, what does your workday look like? Or do you have certain days? Do you have a cadence to your days that these are leadership meeting days? These are team check-ins? What does that look like
Yeah.
as the co-founder and CEO? How have you orchestrated your days?
Yeah, it's like an ever evolving thing because I think when you start a company too, you have to like remember that what worked for your company when you were like 2 to 6 people won't work when it's like 7 to 15. And then what you did from 7 to 15 won't work when it's 20 people, right? So it's ever evolving. But on Mondays, we do a leadership team meeting, and I do about half of my direct report one-on-ones on Monday. I do the second half of those on Tuesday. On Wednesdays, we do our weekly business review or our monthly business review, depending on like where in the month we are. And then on Thursday, we recently instituted something that I love. We call it leadership team spillover. And so it's basically a 1 hour block that we have on the calendar for either anything we didn't get to in Monday's meeting or anything that like has come up between Monday and Thursday that like needs either all of the leadership team or some part of the leadership team. And that way I at least know that I have that block on people's calendar. So that has been a really big, it's crazy that it's only 1 hour, but it really has been helpful of like getting the right people in the room and not fighting with everyone's schedules. But that's been good. And then those are like really the most like fixed things. And then I'm like somehow filled otherwise. So like yesterday I had 3 in-person meetings with fertility clinics that we work with in the LA area. Today I have some meetings with investors. Tomorrow, I think I'm doing like a couple potential marketing partnership meetings. So kind of it varies on a day-to-day basis, but I find a lot of my schedule is really dictated by time zones, right? Like I have about half my team's on the East Coast. So I try to prioritize talking with them before 2 p.m. my time. And then I do things that are only West Coast dependent after 2 p.m., so I wish that was more in my control, but it's not.
What time do you typically wrap your workday? And do you have a wrap up routine or something that you do to plan for the next day?
Yeah. It's really important to me that I am with my family from at least, the latest I want to be done at 5:30 because my kids go to bed at 7. And so that is like sacred time for me. Sometimes it's 5 to 7, but it just depends. So I like do that. And then we have dinner. We usually go for a bike ride around the neighborhood or a walk or whatever it might be. And then we put them to bed. And then I typically get back online until probably like, 7 to 8:30. And then I try to wind down from there. But my end of day routine on a good day involves me getting pretty close to inbox zero and creating a list for the next day. I just feel like I have a much better time like shutting my brain off if I know like I've documented everything I need to do the next day. Do I always do that? No, I am not as perfect as I'd like to be, but sometimes like I'm literally like racing till, the door because like, and I walk right out the door and our nanny has to go home and it's like, like I didn't get to do my list. And so there's sometimes negotiating with my husband of like, give me 5 extra minutes or something like that. But on a good day, I'm making a list.
Absolutely. In that 5:30 to 7 timeframe, what does that look like for you all? What does dinner look like? What foods do you tend to cook?
Yeah.
Do you tend to cook? What does that look like?
Yeah. My husband he actually works in AI. He's like an AI consultant at IBM, and he has figured out a lot of ways to use AI to make our life easier. And so he uses it to like make our meal plan for the week based on recipes that we like. And we actually print a spreadsheet on Sundays that we do our grocery shopping from. And we have our nanny help with some of the food prep. And so we often will like have all of the ingredients ready and then we just like throw it into whatever we're making for the night. Or she'll cut up our vegetables, and then we're able to like throw them on a roasting pan while we're doing a bike ride around the neighborhood, and then come back and dinner's ready to go. So we try to like have mindless meals during the week as a result. And sometimes it's, last night, like we took a cauliflower crust out of the oven and made our kids a pizza, and we decided we were going to eat after they went to bed because it was just like too crazy otherwise. So it varies, but we try to take the mental load out as much as we can.
Absolutely. I love the trick of having the nanny or whoever's home do some of the vegetable prep, because it helps accelerate the dinner so much if you don't have to cut all the things, and because a lot of that's more of the tedious time. So I absolutely I do that too with a home assistant, and it saves me so much time.
Amazing.
When you after dinner, what does bedtime look like? Do you divide and conquer? What does that look like for the kids? And then what does your after work, after bedtime look like for the kids?
Yeah. So our kids, it's interesting that like while I was still breastfeeding, it was like very squarely who does what for obvious reasons. Like I had to be with the baby. And so my husband would do my daughter's like routine, but now we're trying to do like every other night kind of situation. And so she loves to help give the 1-year-old a nap. Or not a nap, a bath. Sorry. A nap would be nice. And so she helps us with bath time, which is like pretty cool. And that like it gives her an activity to like wash his hair. But we'll basically put him to bed. We read together, the four of us, one book. Obviously, this is like on a night we're both home. If one of us has an event or travel, obviously we can't do that. But if we're both home, we'll do like a book, all four of us, and then we'll switch off of who puts our 4-year-old to bed. And if we ate all four of us as a family, then usually we're like dividing and conquering. My husband and I are both going to do some work before we like meet up to watch TV or hang out after they go to bed. And lately it's been like so beautiful here that we'll maybe go sit outside or do something like that. But other nights we end up eating after they go to bed. So it's just, we're trying not to have like too fixed of a schedule.
And then what time do you typically call it a night and get in bed? What does that look like for you? What does your wind down routine look like?
Yeah. So I like to what I call melt. I like to melt on the couch for like at least 30 minutes of just like putting my brain in someone else's life that I'm watching. But after that, we'll go upstairs, either take a shower or just like go through my like face washing routine, which just like takes me so much longer than my husband's takes him. So I go up a little bit before he does. But if it were up to me, like, again, I'm not a morning person, I would stay up and like binge watch whatever show I, could, but I know that's not good for anybody. And so he's a good influence on me, and then I try to go to bed early. I also like in January, I would say I got an Aura ring, which has made me like make better micro decisions, I think. So I tend to go to bed, or I'll go upstairs around 9, and then I'm in bed by like 9:15, 9:20. And then I'll read my Kindle for as long as it takes until I fall asleep. And I'm so grateful for that little device, because otherwise I'd be like a complete insomniac.
I could not live without my Kindle as well.
Yeah.
What are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading, it's a memoir it's called like, I think from the corner of the oval or something like that. Now I have to check. From the corner of the oval. Her name's Beck Dory Stein. And I actually just read another book that's one of it's like Hello Sunshine's Reese's book club book of the month. It's like a book about two sisters playing soccer, which it's actually way better than I just made it sound. But I loved that book. So, Spectacular Things. Beck Dory Stein. It was so good that I was like, what else has she written? And it turned out that she had written a memoir about her time working as a stenographer in the Obama White House, which it's like really good. And I really love memoirs, like so much. I find them to be really like, I don't want to put them down whenever I read a memoir. There's something about it being someone's real life that makes it so much more compelling to me.
That's awesome. I really enjoy memoirs, and I do a lot of audiobooks, and I like to find them that are read by the
Yes.
subject. Like Matthew McConaughey's is super good. Selma
Okay.
Blair reads hers. Jessica
Ooh,
Simpson's was also really fun.
I loved hers. I read that. I didn't listen to it. I loved Matthew Perry's memoir.
Oh, I haven't read his.
I couldn't. It was the type that you like can't stop thinking about long after you put it down.
I will have to download that.
It was so good.
Pivoting back to kind of how you founded Cofertility, kind of what led you to start the business? What did your past experience, either personal or work-wise, kind of, was there a catalyst there?
Yeah.
Did you always want to be a founder? What did that look like for you?
Definitely both on the personal and professional front. I had worked at Uber actually for almost a decade. I joined Uber in 2013. I was launching new markets across the East Coast and had the opportunity to move to San Francisco to join a team called Uber Everything. That was an incubator for new lines of business, and saw an opportunity for Uber in healthcare and pitched our executive leadership team on a business line called Uber Health that we launched in 2018 that essentially helps patients get to the care that they need. Millions of people miss a doctor's appointment every year because they don't have access to a reliable ride. And it was like, well, Uber can fix that. And it was there that I think I got hooked on this idea of like how we can use things that already exist, right? Technology and logistics to help solve an existing problem, right? So I had experience in, being an entrepreneur at Uber where I like had an idea and built a pitch deck and pitched it and convinced them to let me build it. And so I think that's part of what gave me the confidence that I could figure out how to be an entrepreneur. But it was my own personal experience that helped me like really zero in on what problem it was that I wanted to solve. And I think that's what's really important for any founder is not necessarily to be obsessed with the solution that you're building, but instead to be obsessed with the problem you want to solve, because you never know what the solution might end up being. And so I was diagnosed in 2017, like while I was building Uber Health, actually with an incredibly rare abdominal disease. I'm one of 154 people on the planet to ever get it. I had masses growing everywhere throughout my abdomen and pelvis, and was told that I'd need to have a number of surgeries to remove the disease, and that it was really likely I would lose my ovaries in the process. And I wasn't ready to have kids yet, but I knew I always wanted to be a mom. And I said, can I freeze my eggs? And they were like, well, we don't know what will happen if this disease is so rare that we don't know, like if we inject your abdomen with hormones, like what could happen. And so they said no, and said that egg donation might be my best bet to become a mom someday. And of course, again, I wasn't ready to have kids, but I am a planner. So I was like, I got to know everything there is to know about egg donation. And so I started reading about it and looking at the different options out there. And I could not believe what I saw. It was so transactional. This idea that women get paid tens of thousands of dollars to donate their eggs and are promised anonymity when that just can't exist if things like Ancestry.com and other at-home DNA tests exist. Like, it just made zero sense to me. I also thought it was crazy that depending on how hard it is to find a donor of a specific background, the more cash compensation you have to pay. To me, it felt like surge pricing for egg donors, and I just really wanted nothing to do with it. And so my sister at the time decided that she would freeze her eggs and donate them to me. And that was such a gift, right? Like this idea that, I'd have those eggs there waiting for me if I needed them really just changed everything. And so I ended up going through 3 really major surgeries and recoveries, and each time thinking I might wake up with no ovaries. Long story short, they preserved my ovaries. I didn't end up losing them, but I did get to live my life with the gift of frozen eggs, right? I got to make decisions about my career without the pressure of my biological clock. And I got to make decisions about my relationship without the pressure of my biological clock. And when I was ready, I did end up having my daughter, who's now 4, without using my sister's eggs. But the minute I gave birth, I thought, what a miracle. And I can't think of anything else I would rather spend my time doing than helping more people have the same feeling that I have right now. And so I felt strongly that everyone deserves the opportunity to freeze their eggs, and the cost should not be a barrier, right? It is this amazing science that exists, but until we do something about access, like the people who will benefit from it the most don't get to, right? The best time to freeze your eggs is when you can least afford it, the younger you are, right? And that needs to change. And then on the other side, intended parents should feel really aligned with how they're growing their family. And they shouldn't feel like they're settling for something that feels really transactional or stigmatized in the way that traditional egg donation works. And so Hallie and I came together to build something really different. And she had been through her own winding road of a fertility journey. And it just felt like this was exactly what we needed to build.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story with us. It's such a cool concept, but so logical. I feel it makes so much sense in how you've described it. And I absolutely love that. When you, just out of curiosity, as you've built the company, do you have a lot of moms, or how have you thought about building a company that is enabling parents to become parents while raising families yourselves?
It's a wild ride, I will tell you that. I think one of the coolest things about this company is that our team is made up of so many people who feel a connection to what we're doing for different reasons, right? One of the people on our team who I happened to be with yesterday when I went to meet with some fertility clinics, he is a donor conceived person, and he was raised in a household with 2 gay dads who used an egg donor and a surrogate to have him. And so he feels really passionate about improving what that looks and feels like for people who also are donor conceived and wants to like change that for them. Then we have people on our team who, I'm thinking of someone who after she had her own 2 kids, she became a surrogate and was able to help another family grow and wanted to be able to like spend her time doing that, even though, maybe she can't continue being a surrogate at this point in her life, right? Then we have people or someone on our team who was adopted, right? Like there's so many different reasons, and a lot of moms and a lot of dads and people who, ultimately at our core, I think are aligned on the mission of, we believe anybody who wants to be a parent deserves to be a parent, and they need the help of a third party to do that. And so we just believe that there are more evolved ways to make that happen. So I think everyone is connected to the mission. And then, being a parent is a big part of my identity. It's a big part of Hallie's identity. And we wanted that to be something that people can do while they work here. And so I remember on one of my teammates' first days, like her son needed to go to the pediatrician on her first day. And she was like, this is my first day at work. Oh my God. I was like, you need to go with your kid. Don't even think about it. Right. That's what I would do. And someone else on the team told her, like, no, Lauren really means it, because it's not lip service, right? Like your kid needs you, be there. And I don't think you can be good at your job if you don't feel like you can show up for your family.
Absolutely. I would 1000% agree with that in my personal experience. Switching tacks a bit, what do you do in the day for yourself? What do you consider self-care? How do you practice that for yourself these days?
I'm pausing because it's really hard for me to think of something. Like that's the reality. And I'm being like so honest that in this like moment and season of my life, I don't have a good answer. And that sucks. I need a better answer. And it's something that I like have on my radar. It's interesting in that like my I also am planning a move. We bought a house and we're moving in a few weeks, and that adds a lot of stress too. And I was thinking, like, is there a world in which like I could carve out like one afternoon when I know the East Coast has already been done with their work? Can I like cut out to like go get a massage on a Friday afternoon? And so I'm like thinking about doing that. Will I do it? I don't know, but I want to. So I'm a work in progress.
Absolutely. And that's okay. There's seasons for all the things. And a moving season is certainly one. I mean, it's one of them. What is it? Like the five most stressful things, like moving. There's a few different ones. It's like moving, buying a house, switching jobs, death of a parent, birth of a child, I think those are the things. Thinking about household tasks, how do you and your husband divide those? How are you dividing things related to the move? And I'm sure there's a lot of coordination and thought going into that right now in your already very busy brain.
I'm very lucky that my husband and I have a partnership. Like we really do. And that's something that we've established from day one. There are certain things that like are just squarely mine and certain things that are squarely his. And like decisions around like what colors are we painting the rooms in the new house, like that's on me. What kind of tile are we looking at? What kind of like those choices like are clearly mine because I care more and I have better taste than he does. And he knows that. But like the logistics of like finding a moving company and, making sure they know like how much stuff we're moving and what day we need to do it and what time, like he's on that part of it. He's working with like the AV people to make sure that like all of the technology is set up the way he wants it, because again, he cares more about that. And so I think we look for who's the natural owner of something based on level of interest and skill first and foremost. And then if there isn't an obvious answer, it's who either has the capacity to do this right now or who's just like willing to do it. So I think that's kind of our first path is like who wants it and then who doesn't want it the least, I guess. Right. So we do that with a lot of different things. But I think clear owners, instead of us both doing everything, makes a lot of sense. And then I think the other thing that we've really adopted is, and this is pretty nerdy, but it's our reality, is that we make a lot of project plans for our personal life. So in the same way, like sometimes I literally will take like a template that I used at work for something and say, okay, we're having a new baby. Like here is our new baby spreadsheet. Like these are all the things we need to do before he's born. And who's owning it? When does it need to be done by? What's the research that needs to happen? Or like what's the decision that needs to be made or the item that needs to be purchased? And by when? And we will have like check-ins like once or twice a week to be like, where are we on the spreadsheet? So we do it for a new baby. We do it for us moving. We do it for, trying to figure out like what school we want to send them to. Those kinds of things, like probably have a project plan in our house.
I can relate very deeply to that. I had a Trello board when we had our first kid. My husband was like, are you kidding me? You're tagging me with a Trello board? I was like, this is how my mind thinks. So this is how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Speaking of partnership, how do you make time for your relationship with your husband? Do you prioritize date nights? Do you prioritize kind of longer away time? How do you prioritize just eating when the kids are asleep? What does that look like to you right now in this phase?
Yeah, we're certainly, I think, better about time, the two of us, than I am like self-care at the moment. So our wedding anniversary is actually this weekend, and we've asked my parents to like come and watch the kids like while we go on a date for that. We do have opportunities to like we went to Seattle for a long weekend in June. We had a wedding to go to, but like it felt like, wow, we're like young and free and don't have kids with us. It was like the most amazing feeling. And so we definitely try to find those opportunities, or even if it's like random, neither of us have a meeting at the same time, like let's go run for coffee or let's go out for lunch on our way to do pickup, or we know we have a parent teacher conference coming up. Let's like block our calendars and go for lunch before or afterward. Right. So we do that often. And sometimes like, in the middle of last week, we knew we had a stressful week. And so we decided Wednesday night was going to feel like Friday night. Like we just needed to like relax and order in and really just like chill together. And that's what we did. So we're very much like, we try to stay in alignment, and we talk about being in alignment a lot and like calling it out when we're not feeling like we are.
I like that. I like that Wednesday feeling like a Friday. I could use that today.
Yeah.
Curious how that looks with your friends right now. How do you make time for your friendships in this phase? Is it in person, phone calls, text? What does it look like for you right now?
A little bit of both. Like tonight, as an example, after bedtime, I'm going out with a few of the moms that I've gotten close with from my daughter's class at school. And I've been looking forward to it for weeks, right? I'm like, I really adore this group, and we're on a text thread otherwise. And it's like, let's take the chat in real life, right? Like, let's like actually see each other. And it's okay that they're few and far between, because we do stay up to date with each other in the chat. A couple of my closest friends in the world are still on the East Coast, even though I'm in LA. And so I try to use my, like, whether it's my morning walk with my son or, the drive home from school drop off, to call my East Coast people, because it gives us a chance just to catch up. So I'm trying to stay close with my people I care about, but also actually find that I really gravitate toward other founder moms, because like one of my closest friends that I've made in LA is the founder and CEO of this like incredible cookie. Actually, Sweet Lauren's, the cookie dough company. Lauren is amazing. And she and I both, like, if we get together, we may end up like talking about like fundraising for 3 hours, if that's what one of us needs to talk about, right? Like, it's nice to have another, and she has 2 kids that are similar in age to my 2 kids. And so it's helpful that we're like kind of in it both in the life and work front in sort of parallel ways. And so we've really gravitated toward each other.
That's awesome, and great to kind of have a sounding board that's going through a lot of the similar stuff, I imagine.
Totally.
You mentioned your husband is very clever on AI. How are you using AI in your day-to-day life, both or either for work or for at your house?
Yeah, he really has inspired me quite a bit. And he actually did like a whole workshop for my entire team at Cofertility and helped us to come up with a policy and, different use cases and ways that we can use it. And so we've created like internal tooling where there's Cofertility specific GPTs that are trained on our knowledge bases and things like that. And so you could put in a question that you get from a member and say like, how should I answer this? And it is trained on all of Cofertility documentation and can give a specific answer that's like instantaneous and like somebody who has like years of knowledge of working here, which is like really amazing. So he has really helped not just me, but our team get more efficient and use it to our advantage. I think that there are a lot of ways too that like, I think AI has pros and cons, right? One of the pros is that, I can upload a contract and be like, what do I need to know from this contract? Or what are things that I should be on the lookout for based on this contract? Or how should I negotiate, changing X, Y, or Z? And it's a lot cheaper than my lawyer's hourly rate. Of course, I need to like know when to use a lawyer versus not, but that has been a really amazing thing. I think, on the flip side, it's, he will like, with my nieces and nephews and with our daughter, like create like, a song with them that has them all in the song. I'm like, wow, like, musicians really are going to have a hard time someday because of what AI has done here. Right. So there's certainly, I think, pros and cons in that way, but I really like to use it for not just the Cofertility specific use cases, but for research and things like that. So help me confirm my understanding of X, Y, or Z. And then in my personal life, I use it all the time. I'm like taking pictures of like a random like thing of ointment. And I'm like, what is this ointment? What was this for? Right? Like, because I can't find the box of who it was prescribed to, or I can't remember. Right. So certainly using it in that way. But I think that a friend of mine, actually, her name is Joan, and she's the CEO of a company called Boomo. She started a Substack that is entirely based on all of her AI use cases. And so I love that newsletter, highly recommend it. And it's just like, one of the things is like an AI assistant for your scheduling. That's like really inexpensive and, saves a ton of time. Using AI for headshots and things like that. Like there's so many ways to use it that are less expensive than what the alternative is. So yeah, I'm very open-minded about it and want people to use it. I think people need to be careful. Like I see a ton of job applications from candidates, and the first thing I do is zoom out in my brain and look to see how many M dashes are in the email. And if there's, usually when there's a dozen M dashes, I know that they didn't write it and ChatGPT did, right? So tell your ChatGPT not to use M dashes.
Yeah. Those are some great use cases. And I loved the meal plan example because
Yeah.
I was working on that this weekend trying to get it. Like I was plugging in macros and I was plugging in recipes and I was saying, now create me a meal plan and a grocery list. And it's way easier than me doing it myself. Let's put it that way.
We also, my husband will use it like on a car ride with our 4-year-old where he'll say, tell a story, like a choose your own adventure story about such and such. And she will talk to, we call it Chuck, and it's like entertainment for our kid.
That's hilarious. AI is one way of outsourcing. Are there other things that you outsource these days? Cleaning, grocery shopping, other things that you're outsourcing?
Yeah. I mean, I think after spending almost 10 years at Uber, I'm certainly very, I like pressing a button to get what I need, right? That is like sort of ingrained in me. And so we, in this phase of life, do a lot of like delivery, grocery shopping, and, delivery of paper towels and things like that. So our like supply chain is certainly very delivery centric. And then our nanny is really one of the biggest unlocks of our life. She really, helps with laundry and food prep. And of course, is just like the glue that keeps the like whole thing together with our kids. And so I've realized that like, I'm lucky to be able to afford someone doing that. And I don't need to do our laundry to feel like a good mom. And so I would rather spend that time connecting if I can. And I'm certainly very privileged to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Do you have any specific weekly routines or monthly routines that you shape your days around? Like you always try to do X once a month or Y once a week? If not, totally fine. Just curious.
I'm like, what should I do monthly? Not really. Every year I write goals for myself, and my husband and I both do this at the beginning of every year. And I like to look at them pretty regularly. So maybe once a month I do like check in with my goal spreadsheet for the year. I'm like, have I, like this year I put on there buying a house. Like I really this was the year for that. And I remember like looking at it in February and being like, all right, we've got to do this. And so we did it. Right. And I think that's probably the thing that I most consistently do. I know there are things on there that I haven't done yet, but because I'm like visiting it regularly, that helps.
I like that. Lauren, what is something you are deprioritizing, setting aside, not worrying about, even though it's something you might otherwise want to stress about, that you're just letting go of because it doesn't fit in your days right now?
Whew. I think that knowing even just like the next 8 weeks of my life are going to be chaos with both work-wise and with a move and starting school and those things, that like, I know that one of the things that's on my list is like, I really want to find a workout routine that I really love. And I have not yet, but do I think that I'm going to do that when I'm living in this house in this moment of transition? Like, honestly, no. And so I'm not letting myself off the hook entirely, but like it is to me, it's like a October me is going to think about it.
That feels very fair. that type of grace feels extremely warranted in this phase. Okay. What is something you are obsessed with recently, Lauren? What is sparking a lot of joy?
I think that having a few, and maybe I don't do no self-care, right? Like one of my favorite items, and I'm just pulling it on my desk because I love it so much, is this like Therabody. Someone gave this to me, Therabody depuffing wand that like gets either really cold or really hot, and then you just like turn it off. And so I use it on my face in the morning. It's like an ice roller, but like it brings me so much joy to use it. It also brings me joy that I like feel like I have a good supplement routine, and it brings me joy that I'm like drinking a lot of water every day, right? Like I think that like when I do like fulfill the things I set out to do, I feel joy. I think that's part of it. And then also like I get a lot of joy from the outcomes of the work that we do. And so when an intended parent finally has a baby through a Cofertility egg donor and they send us a baby photo, it is like the most fulfilling, satisfying thing ever, that this is all worth something. So and then it's little moments with my own kids, right? Just like them laughing. That's it.
And this year, I always love the 1 to 2 age because they become such humans in that year. Like they're kind of they're there, but they're going to start talking and like vibing in the next year. And I feel like that's like the most they change. I feel like that's the biggest change year in my mind from my kids. And that's a fun one to watch, I'm sure, as the words come out wrong, but hilariously, like the chicken. My son used to call the kitchen the chicken. And I was like, never stop. Please continue.
Don't correct this child, please.
Yeah. Lauren, where can people learn more about you and follow you?
On Instagram, I'm at Lauren Makler, and that's LaurenMakler. But also Cofertility is on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere you'd expect. But I really love to engage with people that are interested in what we do, and I'm having fun over there on Instagram. So find me there.
Awesome.
And LinkedIn, I guess, too.
And then, Lauren, what is your favorite part of a day in your life?
My favorite part of a day in my life is when I get to see my kids at the end of the day, the playing in the front yard moment.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for taking time to share your days with us. And it was so great to learn about you and Cofertility, and can't wait for the episode to air.
Thank you for doing this. I really enjoy listening to them, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of A Day in Her Life. I'm your host, Ellie Rinnick, and I am so glad that you're here. If you're loving the podcast, please share it with a friend, drop us a review on podcasts or Spotify, and tag us on Instagram at A Day in Her Life Pod. If you have any feedback or guest suggestions, you can send me a message on Instagram or on our website, adayinherlife.com. Also, you can subscribe to our newsletter from our website or on Substack, adayinherlife.substack.com. Each week on Fridays, I share a newsletter with some things that I'm loving, things that I'm eating and making for my family, and some things that past guests are doing out in the world. I would love for you to follow along.